Have you ever felt that frustration? You know, you're saving, you're investing, you're working your tail off, but when you actually look at the numbers, it feels like you're just stuck. Like you're playing by all the rules, but you're just not getting ahead.
Look, it's a feeling so many of us have. We put in the hours, we make the sacrifices, we follow all the so-called right advice. But that real financial freedom we're all chasing, it just always seems to be just over the horizon. So what if the problem isn't us? What if the problem is the rule book we've all been handed?
And that right there is the big shift we have to make. See, the wealthiest people in the world, they're not just playing with a better set of rules. They understand that money operates on a set of unbreakable laws. And once you get that, once you understand these laws, you can finally start playing the same game they are. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about the real rules of money. Then we'll dive into the three big pillars: momentum, structure, and asymmetry. And to wrap it all up, we'll give you a super simple 5-question checklist to take with you. All right, let's jump in. Section 1, the real rules of money. So to really get how the wealthy play this game, we have to ditch the common advice and start thinking in terms of these fundamental laws. This whole system, it's really built on 3 core ideas. Let's get into the first one. Okay, momentum, playing the long game. This is huge. It's all about the mind-blowing power of compounding. We're going to see why your greatest asset, your secret weapon in building wealth, isn't some hot stock tip. It's the clock on the wall. This brings us to our very first law, and you got to get this distinction. Money loves speed, but wealth loves time. See, speed is jumping on an opportunity, right? That's how you make a quick buck. But building real, lasting wealth, that's about making a good decision and then just having the patience, the discipline to let it grow. People mix these two up all the time, but trust me, they are not the same thing. Let me give you a real-world example of this. I know a guy who was all about speed. He flipped over 100 homes in just 5 years, made some decent cash for sure. But then there's this other guy, and he was focused on time. In that same 5 years, he bought one property, then a little 4-unit complex, then a 20-unit building. So what happened? 5 years later, the flipper's cash was pretty much spent, but the other guy, his net worth was 5 times bigger. One played for speed, the other played for time. And hey, if you want the ultimate knock-your-socks-off proof of time's power, just look at Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway. Their whole strategy from 1965 to today: buy great companies and just hold them. The result? A total return of, wait for it, 5 million%. No, that is not a typo. 5 million%. Time is, without a doubt, the most powerful partner you can have in this game. Okay, so once you really grasp the power of time, the next logical question is, well, who gets to benefit from it? And that brings us right to our second pillar, structure. This is all about who's in the driver's seat, who controls the money. Because here's the bottom line: whoever controls the money controls the entire outcome. And that leads us to law number 2, and it's brutally simple. He who gives the money has the power. Think about it. In any deal, business, real estate, doesn't matter. It's the buyers and the builders who have this incredible, almost unfair advantage. Why? Because they're the ones writing the checks. They get to set the terms, they get to call the shots, and they're the ones who unlock all the value. Don't believe me? Just look at the Forbes 400 list. You know how many people made that list just from their salary? A big, fat 0, not 1. A couple got on there by selling a business they built from scratch, but the huge, overwhelming majority, they're the buyers and builders. We're talking about the Jeff Bezos, the Elon Musks, the Warren Buffetts of the world. They are constantly buying and building, because that's where the real power is. This idea feeds right into law number 4. Cash flow keeps you alive, but equity makes you free. Think of it this way. Cash flow is the money you need today. It pays the rent, buys the groceries. But equity? That's the wealth you're building for tomorrow. The perfect example is McDonald's. You think they're in the burger business, right? Well, that's their cash flow. But their real wealth, their freedom, their equity is in the billions and billions of dollars of real estate they own under every single one of those golden arches. The burgers keep the lights on, the real estate makes them an empire. All right, let's get into our third and, honestly, most advanced pillar, asymmetry. Now, this is where the pros really separate themselves from the amateurs. It's the art of structuring your deals so that your potential reward is massive, while your potential risk is tiny and completely under your control. The most common way to do this is with law number 3, leverage. Put simply, it's using other people's money to juice your returns. Let's make it super simple. Say you buy $1 million house. If you pay all cash and it goes up by 100 grand, you made a 10% return. Not bad, right? But what if you only put 200 grand of your own cash down and borrowed the rest? Well, that same $100,000 profit is now a 50% return on your money. That's leverage. It's a multiplier. And this is the secret behind law number 5, something venture capitalists have absolutely mastered. Risk and reward are not a straight line. They go into it knowing most of their investments are going to fail. Look at this. They might invest in 5 companies, fully expecting 2 to go to 0 and 1 to just break even. So they're losing on the majority of their deals. But if one of those bets returns 10x and another one hits a grand slam and returns 100x, the whole portfolio is a monster success. They're all about risking a little for the chance to win a fortune. But, and this is a huge but, there's a critical warning that comes with this. It's law number 6. Don't bet the empire for a pot of gold. In other words, never, ever risk what you have and need for something you just want. I know a guy who put his entire life savings, we're talking 15 years of grinding, $700,000 into a single deal that looked like a sure thing. 2 years later, poof, it was all gone. The problem wasn't the deal itself, it was the size of his bet. He risked everything for one shot. So how do you know when to go big and when to spread it out? That's law number 7, and this little matrix explains it perfectly. Here's the rule. Only diversify to protect yourself from what you don't know. If you understand the risk and you have control, like Elon Musk with Tesla, you concentrate, you go all in, you put all your eggs in that basket because you literally control the basket. But if you don't understand the risk and you have zero control, like buying a random stock, that's when you diversify. That's what index funds are for. It's a defense against ignorance. Okay, so we've covered a ton. We talked momentum, structure, and asymmetry. We've gone through all 7 laws. But just knowing this stuff isn't enough, right? You gotta actually use it. So let's boil all this down into a super practical tool you can start using like today. From now on, before you make any big money move, I want you to run it through this simple 5-question checklist. Just ask yourself, number 1, can this thing actually compound over time? Number 2, who's really in control here? 3, what happens if this whole thing goes sideways? What's my real downside? 4, is the potential reward, is it actually big enough to matter? And finally, number 5, and be honest with yourself, do I really truly understand the risks I'm taking? This little checklist right here, this is your shield. It's your filter to protect you from making bad calls. So look, the rules you've been playing by, they might not be the rules that actually win the game. But now you know the laws, the real, unchangeable principles that dictate how wealth is actually built. The only question left is which one are you going to apply first?